With the release of Scorched Earth for Ark Survival Ascended and the dust finally settling, I thought it's time to look at the game balance for PvP and how it's playing out with the crazy new additions to the map like the Oasisaur and cave changes on the new remastered Scorched Earth. And it can be safely said that the balance on Scorched Earth is very much in favour of caves. Like its previous map, The Island, Scorched Earth has made it imperative to live inside of a cave. The balance is in favour of living in one of the 5 caves of the map. It's nothing like the original Scorched Earth release, as when Scorched originally released on Survival Evolved, we had no quets or anything to carry rock elementals, so external bases were much more viable. It was much harder to raid outside bases and pillar bases, but no longer is this the case. You can fly your rock elementals across the map to raid everyone who's stranded outside. And you can't raid the caves to get revenge easily because there is no soakers in the game meta to do so. Cave raiding is very difficult to do. You can do it with teams like the Terrorbird, obviously, but this isn't a very good balance at the moment. Caves are still very, very strong. And with artifacts locked in the caves, the hope of getting tech to defend better is not possible. So one tribe ends up controlling the server if they lock down the artifacts. And it favors the 1%. The one tribe who gets the caves, or their one alliance that gets the caves. So today we are looking at Ark Survival Ascended Scorched Earth PvP meta and going into more detail on these issues. So first up we have cave meta. So with Scorched Earth release, the strongest spots are again caves as mentioned. Sadly, this is the only place you'll survive on Scorched right now. All of the beautiful terrain outside and great high peak pillar spots aren't possible to live on, because caves are again the only spot you can survive. With caves like the Red Ob Underwater Cave and the caves like the Crack Cave, it makes it very hard to raid and very easy to defend. And especially early game with limited flak blueprints. And rock elementals can't soak your base, which are the only soaker on this map, which makes caves even stronger on Scorch than they were on the island. Not to mention you need to get a cave to lock down the artifact to even be able to do the boss on Scorched Earth. Get a cave, you won't have access to tech tier either. Not to mention, caves just suck from a gameplay standpoint in my opinion. When you have a beautiful map like Scorched Earth, you want players to be outside exploring it rather than stuck inside a dark cave all day. And this brings us to our next point, which is the cave artifacts. And currently what is happening is, again on Scorched Earth, Wildcard has put the artifacts inside the caves, which means only a very small percentage of players will be able to access tech tier, because obviously you need these artifacts to fight the boss on Scorched Earth. It effectively prim locks the server and gives one tribe the control over everyone else and favors the 1%. It reminds me of Fjordor, when people could lock down the element cave early on until they changed it. So I hope Wildcard think about changing the artifacts and maybe putting duplicates outside so other tribes can actually compete, be more effective and get to tech tier. At the moment, it feels like there is no point to playing if you don't actually have the cave or own the cave, because you're going to get wiped well before you're able to raid the cave and get the artifact for yourself. And that's why the small tribes PvP servers are already dying according to the Steam charts, which is very concerning this early on in the wild. The next meta shift has come from the Oasisaur, which is a massive floating tame that looks like a Megashalon, and it may as well be the Titan from Extinction. The Oasisaur addition to the map has seen a huge meta shift for Scorched Earth. Now players can simply fly and raid external bases. This was not possible previously when Scorched originally released back in Evolved, as it was limited with flyers with platforms and there was no cryopods, so external bases were able to survive a lot longer in the original release of Scorched Earth. Not to mention the cave meta and the artifact issues. To make living outside worse on Scorch, we now have the Oasisaur. To raid external bases, you used to at least have to fob and push up spam to build up to someone's base if you wanted to raid a pillar, for instance. So there was more skill and there was more dynamics to the raiding. Now, it seems like it's just an offline soak overnight because no one can advance to tech, so they have no chance anyway. Just not a good time for anyone living outside on Scorch right now. The Oasisaur is far too easy to tame, taking only about half an hour on official servers to tame. If someone is taming one, it should be like a server event where everyone gets a notification or something to make it an event and people can contest it or something like that, just to make it more interesting and more dynamic and make it so that people can't just soak your base offline with an Oasisaur with rock elementals too easily. Speaking of rock elementals are obviously a huge PvP meta on official Scorched Earth, Ark Survival Ascended, and they are very strong right now. able to easily soak your base of heavy turrets in about 10 minutes. It's not going to take someone long to soak your base at all. These things soak far better than the Stego and don't require imprint, so it doesn't take much for someone to get it into your base at the moment. Rock Elementals are in dire need of a nerf and a balance pass, I think, to make it a little bit harder to soak someone's base. So the problem is that it's not viable to live outside because Rock Elementals are too easy to get and far too powerful and far too good at soaking bases right now. And the other problem that compounds this is the Oasiosaur, which the Rock Elementals can get on the back of, and tribes are currently able to raid everybody's base with an Oasiosaur, and there's zero effort in investment. And obviously tribes can't get tech if they're living outside of a cave either to defend a little bit more adequately against these threats. The other thing causing balance issues in Ark Survival Ascended, Scorched Earth, and the island is the cave raiding meta. Well, the fact that there is no real counter to caves. I can hear all the sweats say, well, Terror Birds, but you know, Stegos are a designed meta for raiding bases, but currently to raid caves you need to use Terror Birds and yeet them at the enemy's turret wall. This meta doesn't feel designed by Wildcard, but more of a thing that players came up with. Nothing about PvP in Ark Survival Ascended feels designed by the devs, but more designed by the players. In fact, players design most of the meta in Ark, I feel, and this is the issue with Ark. Wildcard need to design a cave raiding meta, like make the Patchy with its hard head able to soak in small areas or something like that, to make another counter for caves that doesn't require yeeting Terror Birds at somebody's wall. So this video may seem a bit biased, but I just want the best for the game. I want Ark Survival Ascended to do well. Some of these metas need to shift and be adjusted for Ark Survival Ascended going forward, especially if they want Scorched Earth to last longer than a week. Because at the moment, it's just favoring one small percentile of the player base and not giving the rest of the players a chance. The gameplay loop is just unbalanced right now, and I think it needs some adjustment. So I feel like we need to give Wildcard some solutions to this problem and not just tell them about the issue, but actually help them design some solutions. So as I mentioned, solution number one is to take the artifacts out of the cave or make duplicates of them and have some artifacts spawn around externally on the map. And this will mean that at least people living outside of caves can have a chance at getting tech. And on small tribes especially, it means people won't have to team and won't have that incentive to work with the other tribes to get an advantage, because that's unfortunately the way to play small tribes right now, and if you don't, you're going to lose. And obviously another solution is to nerf Rock Elementals, just give them a health reduction and make them less effective, and also add something that they require to heal up, like Vegecake's equivalent that Stegos use, and make soaking a little bit less free at least. With the cave meta, the devs could open up the caves slightly if they don't want to add another cave soaking meta, or they could give some sort of creature like a Trike or the Patchy a better tanking ability and ability to get through small cave entrances so that there's other counters to caves, and this would also help balance up the issue with caves being far too powerful compared to land bases. And I would also even say to nerf the Oasiosaur, make it so it can't carry Rock Elementals on its back. Just say it's a weight thing, the Rock Elementals are too heavy if you want to make a reason for it behind the gameplay. This current meta is just favoring the 1% of players, and the casual players have no chance to even compete at any level. And the other thing I recommend for Wildcard to do is get some of us PvP players in before you release a DLC so we can help you balance these things. Because I can guarantee you, if PvP players had tested this for a week, we would have balanced it in a much more playable and enjoyable state. So I really hope Wildcard might actually act on some of this feedback. If you want them to, make sure you guys share this video around so it gets their attention and maybe they'll listen to us. I'm trying not to be too negative. I know it's hard to balance these games and they've done a great job. Scorch is amazing, but I do think some of these PvP metas need to be balanced out. Leave a like on the video if you guys agree, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You guys are legends. Thanks for watching.